What is going on, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Main Event Review. Thank you very much for tuning in to this week's episode. We've got 3 matches to go and analyze today. Only those 3 matches. I guess I will speak also about Saturday night's main event and, the matches that have been announced and previewing that for you guys too while we're here. But otherwise, in terms of just latest WWE news, there hasn't been too much going on in terms of just stuff outside the main shows, which, are well covered across this podcast and also other episodes too. So let's get started with the first match, and that is going to be Thraxium taking on OTM. And, both teams have had history in NXT. OTM has been on the main event show a few times now, so we're starting to know a little bit more about them. But obviously, you catch them on NXT. It's where they mainly are. Again, I don't really have time to watch NXT, so haven't really been following them there. But just seeing them on the main event, they look like they can go. They have a lot of power, a lot of athleticism, and I think they'll be a really good heel tag team in the future. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them on the main roster. But the way the match ended was with Thraxium getting the victory there. So the main sort of card superstars getting the victory as normal. Will they be chasing WWE Tag Team Gold? I'm not sure, because I think right now they're struggling to really make that step. And they've had a lot of title opportunities, but they haven't been awarded with the tag titles. So the division is obviously quite competitive. It's also stuck with some different factions that come up and they win the tag team titles. So it's really tough to be a tag team that's new and upcoming and be a tag team champion for long, because it doesn't really relate to many storylines that people tune into, unfortunately. But they're really good, and maybe in the future these two will become solo stars, which I think is what will happen eventually. But right now, keeping them how they are, not the worst thing. And then we go to the second match of the night, and that was Ivy Nile taking on Maxine Dupree. These guys have versed each other a lot of times. They're obviously really good friends. The feud with Ivy Nile turning heel and, turning on Maxine Dupree was sort of what kicked off Maxine Dupree's real single run to her winning an Intercontinental Women's title. But unfortunately, she gets the loss here, which was a massive surprise. Ivy Nile hitting her finisher to get the victory. Will this do anything for Ivy Nile? I don't think so. But it's interesting that they've given Maxine the victory. And we're going to talk about Maxine because obviously we saw on the last episode of Raw, Maxine Dupree being in the car with the Vision. Is that a step and a sign to suggest that Maxine Dupree is going to turn heel? I don't know. It looks as though that's the case, but they've definitely teased that, because I think a heel turn for Maxine Dupree could be something very refreshing and could definitely help her career here. But I would have thought that they would have given her the victory in this battle, because obviously Maxine has been doing sort of more things, which is crazy. But yeah, that's been sort of what the match was between those two and how that finished off. Surprised that Ivy Nile got the victory. Maxine Dupree, we'll just have to look out on the main show to see if she ends up turning heel as well. And then we get the final match of the night. We had the Culling, another sort of NXT group, taking on the Alpha Academy. I know nothing about the Culling guys. I assume they're a pretty solid tag team as well, but they get an opportunity to showcase, what they can do on main event. And, they did a pretty decent job. They acted really much like the heel tag teams. They looked the par as well. They had also one of the NXT divas also managing them. So that was also, different. Obviously, caused some distractions on the side. Maxine Dupree wasn't out there. She just finished her match. But that's also probably another thing that could tease potentially her turning heel and leaving the Alpha Academy. And maybe creating a feud between Otis and Akira Tozawa to go for those titles. You never know. That could be something good for them, because they do get the victory here. And it was the senton that gave Otis the victory. And, with Maxine Dupree turning heel, we could see, or potentially turning heel, we could definitely see an opportunity for, like I mentioned, Akira Tozawa and Otis going for the World Tag Team titles and having a feud with the Vision, because of the fact that Maxine Dupree is sort of centered around that. So look out for that. That could be very interesting. They did get the win here, and they were always going to beat sort of the up-and-coming NXT stars. But yeah, Otis with the kiss was quite funny. That's what caused like the distraction, and the ability for Akira Tozawa to win, as you know they were aiming for the punch. But yeah, it was a pretty good match to end off, and that pretty much sort of wraps up main event. Again, without the sort of reviews, it's just 3 matches to sort of review, and the fact that we have a lot of NXT stars in this one, there's not really much to talk about when it comes to main roster. But we do have the upcoming Saturday night's main event with, a few cards and matches announced. I assume that maybe Raw will announce 1 or 2 more matches. So we'll review, I guess, the matches that are going to be occurring that have been confirmed. And I think there is 3 confirmed. We have the match between the Street Profits and the Vision, where, again, I do expect the Vision to get the victory here. I don't know how or what will happen here, but it might mean that we could potentially, have Maxine Dupree get involved and turn heel here. Be a good sort of stage to do it, and sort of help out the Street Profits. Help out the Vision, but we will wait for that. I just don't see the Street Profits getting a victory here. It's good that they're back into the fold, and Montez Ford has done a really good job in losing weight, and Angela Dawkins has looked pretty good in the ring. And they look a bit rejuvenated, but I just don't think it'll be enough for them to justify winning the tag team or world tag team titles. So I think the Vision maintain and retain and keep the titles. And then we've also got Penta taking on Ethan Page. Again, I think Penta gets the victory here. I don't think Ethan Page can come in and just automatically get the title, since he's only been here for less than a month. But it's a good opportunity for him to obviously be here and be exposed. So that's awesome in itself. But yeah, Ethan Page, I expect to lose. I expect Penta to win this one with ease as well. And then we've got a 6-woman tag team match with Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss taking on Jade Cargill, Michin, and B-Fab. I think the trio of Jade Cargill, Michin, and B-Fab will win this one, given that I think Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair will be feuding, and something will happen with those 2 guys. Because, I just don't really see how they would make Jade lose, especially given the fact that she still needs to sort of be around that World Women's Championship. And the fact that she hasn't rematched Rhea Ripley, it wouldn't make sense for them to lose it, and that would get her basically out of that. So I'm leaning towards them to win it. And I think we're going to see eventually either Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair against each other, or Jade Cargill involved in a triple threat with these 3. I think that's something that obviously Jade Cargill and Charlotte Flair have been teasing for a long time. But Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair also have history as well. I think it's time that they get Rhea Ripley an opportunity to actually feud with Charlotte Flair, and give Charlotte Flair finally the chance to become a single star again, because I think people are keen for that now. But to be honest, I don't know what would happen with Alexa Bliss. That's the thing that is sort of captivating at the moment. Will Alexa Bliss actually be involved in any of these feuds, or will she, support Charlotte Flair? Who knows? But we'll have to wait and see there what will happen. But yeah, that's pretty much like those 3 matches. I suspect, would Randy Orton and Jacob Fatu take on each other at sort of main event? I don't know. That might be a Clash in Italy thing, but I guess Raw will tell us that. But yeah, it's been another episode of the Main Event Review. Again, a short one today, but thank you very much for tuning in again. And I'll catch you guys next week. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.